Did you ever have a class that behavior was such a problem that you could not control them?
Dude, it's like that every day, man.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ben Laners, founder of thepeteacher.com, and you're watching the Phys Ed Q&A show. This is a place where we're going to just have some conversations around common questions related to physical education and try to help make your day a little bit more awesome. I hope you enjoy it, and just want to remind you, show note links will be down in the description of the video. And if you would rather listen to the video's audio in audio form, we do have a podcast, which you can check out for all you podcasters. Just search for the Phys Ed Q&A show. Let's get into the show, and I hope you really enjoy it. All right, welcome back, friends. Welcome back. If you are wondering why does this audio sound so crispy, it's because we got some new microphones.
They look good, man. They look really good, man.
We're trying to be an official podcast and get some up the production quality a little bit. So
Yeah.
hope you enjoy it, and thanks for listening. Sorry it's been a while. Congrats to Marcus. He had a kid since our last podcast. Let's give him a hand. Congratulations, added to the family.
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir. How's life with two, man?
Two is beautiful, man. I mean, You know how it is. You got multiples. You could never think that your heart can be full with more. But dude, it's amazing. I mean, he's getting in the routine. Big brother's loving life. Wife is doing good. So, I mean, we're blessed. I can't complain at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
One of my favorite things is especially with Ellery, my oldest.
Yeah.
She's starting to get out of those stages. They're just so cool and you just love. And you're like, oh man, she's growing up.
Yeah.
But then you get to experience it again.
Oh yeah.
With your other kid.
For sure.
It's just nice to be able to do that.
How's your family doing, man?
We're good, dude.
Yeah.
We had a busy summer.
Yeah.
Slam pack summer. Back into the swing of things with school now.
Yeah, you got two of them in school.
First season of soccer this year with my oldest.
How's that going? Soccer's good?
It's good, man. Yeah. We were doing dance, so it's more fun for me, watching a soccer game.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Yeah, it's
That's
fun,
good.
man. You want to kick us off with the iTunes review?
Yes, sir. I'm looking up on iTunes, so we would love anytime that you are listening to a podcast, if you want to drop a review, give us a 5-star. That's going to help us out. This one comes from Dre Lim. He says, a big thank you. High school PE teacher turned elementary school PE teacher here.
Nice.
All of your resources and ideas have been so helpful. I appreciate you taking the time to share all you have. Excuse me. And a lot of what you've created. I look at you often for help and ideas. Please keep it going.
Hey, there we go. That's what we like to hear. Glad it's
Please
helpful.
keep it going.
We're doing our best.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get right into it because Marcus is about to actually have to bounce for some basketball practice. But you want to read one of the questions off the Google Doc, and then I'll read one from IG Stories.
Sounds good. We'll go back and forth.
Yeah,
do what we can. All right, this first one comes from one of our members on the membership site. He has any music playlist recommendations for K-5 to play during activities in class. So, Ben, you kick us off with some music ideas of what you like to do in your class.
Sure. That's an easy one. We got all of our playlists linked up at thepeteacher.com/music.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find it's pretty heavy on Surfaces recently. That's my favorite go-to band.
Oh, yeah.
Just
they're awesome.
Such a good vibe.
Yeah.
And, usually I pick a few of the Kid Bop, from the most recent album, maybe 2 or 3 of my favorite ones on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and Marcus are always sharing music.
All the time.
Anytime we find a good jam, we'll share it out to each other.
Yeah, it's really good to, talk to you about inspiration and where you find music, because it's hard nowadays because you can't play everything in the gym.
Yeah.
But music is so important to our learning. Our students, they respond to it. Literally, if we stop the music, our kids are stopping. But, what's been working for me is finding old school remixes and stuff. So we'll take maybe an Earth, Wind, and Fire song or something like that and find a remix of it and do something like that. Those have been really good because a lot of that stuff is now being sampled in today's music. And so the kids will know, oh man, this sounds familiar from what I'm listening to right now. So, we always talk about music, and music is very important. So if you have some music ideas or anything like that, please comment, send us some of that stuff. We love getting new music. And like Ben said, you can always go to our site and figure out some of the music on there. But music is key to our management. If we don't have the music playing, If we didn't have music in our class, it would definitely be more difficult to structure and manage our classrooms. So
Yeah, I'm playing music all day, every day. Anytime kids are moving, my music is on.
all the time.
All right, good stuff. So coming from IG, Terrapin9 says, did you ever have a class that behavior was such a problem that you could not control them?
Dude, it's like that every day, man. And I'll tell you that. I mean, you know how we are at our school district. We have an awesome school district. Our kids are amazing. I cannot complain about our students. They are amazing. They always do great, but everybody's got problems. Everybody's got something going on. So if I have a class personally, if there's something going on in the class and students just cannot follow directions, they cannot. First of all, I have to give them some grace because you never know where they're coming from or what's going on in their situation. But first, as a teacher, I'm going to give them grace. And then I'm just going to refer back to our rules and our expectations in class. And if they're not following the rules and expectations in class, that's a chance for you to teach them about how important it is to first listen. And I talk about all the time, listening is a skill. I mean, you might have a couple of years, but it takes a skill for you to listen. And following directions is going to help you be successful. No matter what kind of activities I teach you, if you can listen and follow directions, you're going to be very successful in life. And that's the soapbox that I get on a lot of times when my students or our students aren't doing what they're supposed to do. But I mean, I know it's not. We are very lucky to have very great students. But anytime that I'm in a situation like that, I'll always refer back to our rules and standards and making sure that students are listening and following directions and doing all those things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've definitely had classes like that. I go back to anytime I have a really bad like kindergarten or a 4K class, and we're talking about it with like our related arts team.
Yeah.
Like trying to brainstorm like what's working for you.
Yeah.
I always say it wasn't as bad as that one year. It's that
True.
one class that I'll always remember.
It's true.
Like it was a 4K group, man, and it's like 4 or 5 kids just running across
all over
the
place.
gym, like
Yeah.
throwing equipment around,
Yeah.
and you tell them to stop, they don't do it. You're calling admin support almost every day,
Yeah.
and you just have to, like, what I had to do is totally modify my entire curriculum to basically not use much equipment, to move like very slow,
Yeah.
do lots of very basic stations, and like Marcus said, you're going back to those rules and procedures and stuff. I've had a pretty rough group of 5th graders a few times.
Okay.
Where it was like we had a few kids that were new.
Yeah.
So it's like their first year at my school, haven't really come up in my culture,
Correct.
my PE culture.
Oh yeah, I understand.
And so then they were like just always cheating, being disrespectful, talking, not giving very much effort. And so with that class, what I did was, like, the other 5th grade classes would be doing basketball tournament.
Yeah.
With them, I was like, hey, we're not ready for basketball tournament because y'all are like on a 2nd grade level. So we got to do a 2nd grade lesson today. So we're going to be learn how to dribble. And it was just a few of those where a few of them started to really buy in and like get that positive peer pressure going.
For sure.
So, man, you just got to like find those kids that you know are like right on the edge in that class that you're talking about where the behavior is so bad, and try to pull them in, and then they pull a few more kids in. But that class was always my least favorite class to teach.
Yeah.
It's not going to change the fact that it's going to be a hard group of kids, but it did help, like, going back in a grade level and then using that as kind of a reward. It's like, look, if you're going to act like 5th graders, we'll do 5th grade stuff. But I can't trust you to act like 5th graders. We're going to do a 2nd grade lesson.
For sometimes you have to change your default, because a lot of times when you're in a tough class like that, you want to go negative and you want to go all that kind of stuff. But if you change your default to, like, I'm going to praise this kid that's always doing what they're supposed to do and lead that as the example, and hopefully other ones will follow along, then you start to create that positive culture in your class like you talk about. Yeah. And if I'm going to 2nd grade lesson, but this kid, the student, is doing what they're supposed to do, that's going to be my default feedback to them. I'm going to make sure that I praise that student. I'm going to make sure that I'm always acknowledging when that student's doing what they're supposed to do, and hopefully the other ones will follow along and join in with the group. So
and it's that conversation about trust too.
Yes.
Like, I just remember having that over and over so many times. Cause like, look, you're about to be in middle school. Yes. You want to have friends.
Yes.
You want people to want to play with you. If you can't be trusted to like play a game, nobody's gonna want to play with you, man.
For real.
Why are you
For real.
ruining this fun game that we could be playing?
Yeah.
You're trying to cheat every time we play the game.
Yeah.
But it's just it's harder when you have new kids coming in. So
Yeah.
depending on how much influx you have of new students and stuff at your school and your
Yeah.
situation, that can be harder. Because like the kids that have been with me for 6 years, they're
know.
good to go. You know, like
they know.
they're already
Yeah.
they got the right culture, the
Yeah.
right mindset for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's tough, and it's just
It's a battle
just
every
part
day.
of teaching,
Yeah.
man, and it's gonna be like that for a long time.
Yeah. And sometimes, man, people ask about like with kindergarten and 4K and all that. Sometimes it's survival, man. Sometimes it's just like, hey, what's one thing that they can take away from this lesson
Yeah.
to remember for the next time? And
Yeah.
that may be, hey, just make sure you walk in like you're supposed to, and like that might be like that sometimes. So you just gotta, change your default, come up with some ideas, some different things, keeping things simple, and referring back to those standards and rules and expectations that you referred to. That's going to help your class and, move along where you want them to go.
Yeah, that just reminded me of with my kindergarten first kiddos. Like, since I can't really say you're in kindergarten, you're acting like a 3-year-old. We're gonna do a 3-year-old lesson. Like, we don't have 3-year-olds at our school.
Yeah.
So with them, if it gets real bad, sometimes I'll just scratch that lesson of the day and we'll do a following directions game
Okay.
or challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, look, we're really struggling to follow directions. So we're going to practice following directions today. That's going to be our lesson. If you show me that you can follow directions, we're going to have a PE lesson next week.
Yeah.
And you'll come back.
Yeah.
And so I'll have them sit down and I'm going to say, I'm going to tell you 3 directions. You have to do them in order and you got to do it quietly and come back and sit down. And I'll say something like, I just make it up on the spot. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you got to go touch something blue. You're going to go touch the rock wall mat. You're going to go touch one walking line, which is like our end lines of our gym, and then sit down crisscross applesauce, and then we'll do it. And then some kids always go touch the rock wall first, or they go touch the other line. I say, hey, you didn't do it in the right order, so we got to do it again because it matters, the order that I tell you to do things. So we'll practice again. And if they do that, I'll add one extra direction. So then I'll tell them 4 things to do. And then, sometimes we don't do it quietly, so we got to go back and try it again.
Yeah, try it again.
So doing that sometimes helps as well, just resetting those expectations, practicing those expectations.
Yeah.
But man, struggle. We're right there with you, and we're at good
Every
schools
day.
too.
And
So
we're at good schools,
yeah.
and we struggle at it
it's
as
a lot
well.
of behaviors.
For sure. All right, we're going to jump into another question from our member form on our website. This one's about long-term sub-plans. So I'll be taking personal long-term from October to winter break, and got a guest teacher, not PE certified, but have worked with them several times. What are some ideas? They were struggling putting together some ideas for a long-term sub. So just want to throw that at you. What are your ideas on a long-term sub or any type of sub plans or anything like that?
Yeah. So for me, it just all depends on the sub. Like, I've had one time when I was out for the birth of my first child. I was out for 3 weeks. That's the longest I've ever been out.
Okay.
I was able to get a student teacher that didn't have a job yet to come and sub for me for 3 weeks. So like in that situation,
It worked out. Yeah.
I knew exactly his capability. Like, I knew if I gave him a unit plan, he was going to be able to execute the unit plan, and it was going to be a phys ed lesson. And I've had other situations where I had a teacher that came in, and like when I came back to school, my equipment room was like totally wrecked. And it's like,
man.
you talk about like trust.
Yeah.
Like, I don't call that sub anymore because I don't trust them to like be in my gym.
Yeah.
So it just depends on, you're saying that you've had a little bit of contact with them. They're not PE certified. Being PE certified to me doesn't mean as much as if I actually know they can teach.
Correct.
Like the situation I had where the equipment room was a disaster, it was a PE certified sub.
Yeah.
I've had non-PE people that came in, and it was like kids
Great.
had great feedback.
Yeah.
Equipment room was put back how it was. I asked them what they did, and they did everything they were supposed to do. So for me, if it's somebody I can trust, I just leave them like the normal unit plan that I would use. And I try to link up any videos on my YouTube channel and things like that.
Correct.
The visuals are really helpful. And leave as many notes about like how to set up. I actually have a little video that's connected to a QR code on my sub plan. It's just real generic about when I was setting up the gym one day. I just had
Film
my phone
myself.
and did a little selfie video, and I was like, hey, thanks for coming in. This is how you set the gym up. Here's where the key is. Here's how to connect the music. It's just a one shot, 5 minutes, pull everything out. This is how you lock it all back up. And then I connected that to subplan just because if it's somebody's first time, it's a lot going on. Set up an equipment room, pull open an equipment room, set up a gym. But for me, it depends on what we're doing. I would try to do something where it's like, you know, a throwing and catching unit if you're going to be out for a long time, long enough to do a unit, or maybe jump rope, you know, jumping rope unit where it's very like pretty easy progressions, and I could leave a slideshow for them to show them with some animated GIFs, and they can just use the slideshow kind of as a way to structure the unit. But it comes down to who's the sub and what's their capability.
For sure. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, if you have somebody who's capable, you can keep your same curriculum, but if you don't have anybody that's capable, you're going to want simple activities with minimum equipment that they can set up and do for multiple grade levels and all that kind of stuff. So like Ben said, if you can be proactive and go, you know, visualize and give some visuals, maybe it'd be slides or videos or something for them, that can help. But if you're overwhelmed and it's something that's coming soon, you're going to want to keep it simple, minimum equipment with activities and visuals that they can do for a long time. So long-term sub, especially in PE, is difficult. But yeah, if you can set yourself up as you're going along with some ideas and stuff, if you're ever out or miss any activity or miss any work time, that can set you up in the long run.
Yeah, man. If I'm going to be only out for like a day, I know this isn't, the question was like a long-term sub, but if I'm only going to be out for a day, I usually just leave something simple like a tag game with some station activities. But if you're going to be out for a long time, you do want to have some instruction going on.
For sure.
So you should leave like an actual unit.
Yeah. I will say just one piggy.
Yeah, go for it.
We at my school, we have 2 PE teachers. So if one of us is out, obviously the other one's leading while the other one's there. The sub is there assisting. So if you have something like that, if you have some, you know, office work that you need to do, that's a great time for them to do that, especially they're not planning anything. So if you have a long-term sub and you're getting set up for field day or something like that, they can handle all that kind of stuff as well. If you need stuff printed and all that kind of stuff, the subs are really good at, you know, helping out as well as that. So if you're in a situation where you have 2 PE teachers there, you can always have that sub helping out, especially long-term, trying to get stuff done as well.
Yeah, man, it's clutch having 2 people because then, you know, at least it's going to be a decent
something's going to get done. Yeah.
All right, we got one from IG. He says, this is from Hector. He said, how do we keep the peace with other department members who aren't as passionate about teaching PE? It's difficult to do my own thing when we rely on each other so much, from day-to-day planning, equipment, space, and grading.
Ooh, that's a good question. And then it's kind of referred back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, giving other people grace. You never know what somebody's going through. You never know what kind of situation that they're in. But if you don't see eye to eye with the person that you're working with, that's an opportunity for you to sit back and watch what they're doing and see why they do what they do, and try to give them and try to see it from their perspective. They may be taking a different kind of approach than what you're going at. And then, like we always say, communication is key, and being able to communicate and have honest conversations with people that you're working with that, hey, like, we may not see eye to eye, but this is how I see to do it. And then when you get the opportunity to teach, then you can show them your passion for them, your expectations and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's difficult because, you know, there's, especially when you're sharing equipment, you're sharing space, you're sharing activities and stuff, it's difficult when you don't see eye to eye perspective wise. But being able to communicate, have that open dialogue, and seeing it from their perspective will allow you to relax and not be so overwhelmed when you're in that situation.
Yeah, communication is definitely important. I think this made me think of this quote I heard like a couple weeks ago, and it was, people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses.
Yeah.
That's like same thing, like people don't quit jobs, they might quit a coworker.
Correct.
Because like if it's this kind of situation where I'm going to have to work with somebody that I just clash with so badly every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably going to look for another job.
Yeah.
Like, unless there's a way for us to, you know, teach outside inside. Like I know when Marcus was student teaching with me, we did like an outside inside thing where one of us would teach inside, one would teach outside. When Marcus and me were working together, it was like the total opposite of that. It was like total 100% synergy.
Yeah.
Like
Oh man, it's
were
easy.
like as on the same page as you could be.
Oh yeah.
We were on the same page.
I mean, it's probably why I'm doing the podcast 14 years
Yeah,
later. So
yeah,
I mean,
man.
it worked out. Yeah.
So it just makes such a big difference. Like if you can't find a way to get on the same page, like in my mind, for me, I know it's worth it for me to go and find a situation where I am on the same page with somebody.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I ended up going elementary, because when I was at the high school, I saw a lot of, I don't, he didn't say if it was high school or elementary, but I would assume it seems like maybe a high school situation.
Maybe a high school
But
situation. Yeah.
if it's elementary, if you're elementary team teaching, it's probably even a little bit harder because you have to be usually in the same gym, same together. But like even at the high school, it was tough because you would have a lot of coaches that were really there just to coach, and you had to share a gym with them. And I'm trying to do like a basketball unit on half the gym, and then the other coach is literally just like
throwing the
ball out
Yeah.
and like on his computer.
Yeah.
So it's like my kids are like, why do we have to do this? Like, look at them, they're just like shooting around.
Shooting around, playing. Yeah.
So that made it almost impossible to teach, which is one reason why I decided I wanted to go elementary, because I knew it would be easier to control the environment, to build my own program, to kind of have my own thing. And I kind of saw that, and talking to my friends that were at other high schools, it seemed pretty common.
Does
so
seem
that's
like
tough,
more of a
tough situation,
more of a secondary, problem than an elementary problem. But I mean, it's a problem everywhere. I mean, no matter where you work, no matter what situation you're in, you're not always going to agree with everybody. That's a good conversation to have with your students as well. It's like, we're doing these cooperative activities. Everybody on your team, you might not like everybody on your team. You might not like whoever is in your, cohort, whatever like that.
Yeah.
But you still got to find ways to do it. And it's just trying to put yourself in their perspective, where they're seeing it, how they view the situation going on, and then try to give them a little grace, because you never know what people got going on at home. You just never know. So.
For sure. And I mean, you got to make the best of where you're at, make the best of what you have.
Yeah.
But like long-term thinking wise, if it seems like they're going to be in that environment's not going to change, I wouldn't, in my brain, be signing up for like another 15 years of that. You know what I mean? You want to be in a healthy situation. So you kind of have to decide if you think it's something that you could change, and like the way to change it would be all the stuff Mark is talking about.
Yeah. Having
empathy, communicating with them, trying to find a way to inspire them. But some people, pretty hard to change. So it might be easier to go find something else.
You can't control what other people do.
Yeah.
So
you can only control what you do.
You only control you. So
yep.
You can't control what other people do.
What's the next one you got, man?
All right. This one is, again, from our member section. This one about peer assessment. Hello, I teach a PYP and we are looking for a good self and peer assessment to end our partner collaborative games unit. The main theme of the unit is to teach the importance of listening, preach, resolving conflict, and general collaborative skills. Any ideas or resources would be much appreciated. So what are your ideas on the peer assessment and, looking for some good self and peer assessment during collaborating or any game unit or anything like that?
Yeah. I was trying to think, like my brain went straight to like my favorite cooperative games, which would be like hula hut relays, cross the river. I've never done a formal peer assessment with that. We've just like reflected and done our self-assessment.
That's what I'm thinking. Same thing, a reflection.
I guess if you wanted to do a formal peer assessment, you could have like one of the teams watching while you're playing the game, and then you could have a conversation afterwards about what did you see that was like showing that people were listening, communicating. For me, that's like this kind of conversations we already have anyway with the whole group. So I would rather just have everybody playing, or you could just do a little reflection at the end, like who on your team was doing a great job listening. Maybe have the kids like fill out a little Post-it note and give a compliment or shout out the kids that were being really helpful on their team. But my favorite team building games is hula hut relay, cross the river. Those are my two that I always get in every year, no matter what. I'm going to find a way to fit them in.
Yeah, those are classics.
Just because there's so many good conversations that come out of them related to everything you're talking about: resolving conflicts, collaboration, listening to each other, communication. I don't know, what Did you think of anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that we're trying to do some like peer assessment, that this is going to be like an upper grade level, fourth, fifth grade type activity as well. But yeah, I'm taking those collaborative games, and I'm taking, if I have to, I'm taking the last 15, 20 minutes of a lesson, and I'm saying, I'm structuring it first, like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And then I'm giving students in their team a time to talk about the importance of the listening, collaborating, and then team to team talking about, hey, this is what we discussed, this is what you discussed. So you basically turning your reflection time at the end of the class into a guidance type lesson. So I'm gonna front load it before we teach the activity. Hey, I'm looking for you to give me some examples of resolving conflicts or listening, and then I'm giving examples. We're doing demonstrations. We're doing the activity. And then at the end, we're reflecting, doing a role playing or anything like that as well. So anytime I'm in that situation like that, I'm going to front load it with the activity first and then do the activity. And then I'm going to use that time at the end, reflection time, to put into practice what we talked about before.
Right.
And so if you have that situation, you can definitely get with your guidance counselors about the stuff that they're talking about. Our guidance counselor was nice enough to send us their whole syllabus for the year. And so the things that they're talking about in class is the same things that we try to talk about as well. Being a good teammate or helping each other up or having empathy or using kindness or something like that. All those things are important for students to learn, especially in the time of mental health and all that kind of stuff. Just being able to label and do things like that, and then having that activity, it would be a good peer assessment if I'm ever in that situation.
Yeah, another thing I was thinking was a good resource to check out might be the partner acceptance blog post.
Yes.
So like if you aren't familiar with that, we do this thing called the levels of partner acceptance, where I'll just have like a whole lesson where I'm just going back and forth and I'm having the kids switch partners to do a different skill challenge every 2 or 3 minutes. And we practice how, like, the different ways that you can accept a partner. So
yes.
Level 1 would be, refusal to accept. Level 2 is when you're like, I guess so, like you're not really excited about it. But you're still accepting. And then it goes all the way up to level 4, which is like, yes, awesome. And you do fist bump and high five. And just talking about that. And then, like you said, giving them a chance to practice it. So talk about it up front, give them a lot of chances to switch partners and practice, accepting their different partners. So that was another one that might be good. And you could do an easy like assessment on that. Like how well did my class do accepting me as a partner during our activities today?
Yeah.
So it might be a good one.
Yeah. Well, also as I've seen where, you have your whiteboard in the gym, and as they're reflecting and having that time, you're asking students to go up and write on the board what your group talked about. So that way you have, the words up on the wall so students can see, hey, this is what we talked about, resolving conflict. I take a turn, you take a turn, or we play rock, paper, scissors. Or, again, you want to have that vocabulary and you want to label that, and you want students to build it so they buy into it as well. So having it up on display for students to see is a great way for them to see the work that they're putting in is working and doing everything like that.
Yeah, it's a good call, man. It's a good visual too, because they get to see it, not only hear it.
Yeah, they see it, not only hear it. It's clutch.
Okay, here's a couple short answer ones for you.
Okay.
How do you deal with students that always want to go to the nurse for minor things?
That's a good one. You could do it a couple of ways. One, you can go, hey, do we need an ambulance? Do we need to call 911? And go that approach. Or you can send them to the nurse, and as they're going to the nurse, you contact the nurse and say, hey, and then they're talking to parents or the teacher and say, hey, I'm going to make a tally mark every time you ask to go to the nurse. So that way you have a communication, you have that. Whatever you want to do, you want to make sure you have it documented and communication on there. So that would be, that's a 3 type approaches that I usually take.
If it's a kid, that's what we label as a frequent flyer.
Frequent flyer.
I just always say, do your best, forget the rest. Like, it's like, you got another stomach ache? Do your best, forget the rest.
Do the best and forget the rest.
You got a sprained ankle? Do your best, forget the rest.
Yes.
And we also have, like, if they choose not to participate, I do have a little parent note form that we send home.
Yeah.
But for my frequent flyer kids, and it's all about knowing your kids. Like it just comes down to, if you got that kid that's going to have an issue every day, you can't send them to the nurse unless that's what the nurse wants. Obviously, you got to check with your nurse and see. Whereas some kids might have a medical issue, they might need to go to the nurse. But
having those
just about knowing your kids.
504 and everything. Yeah. So make sure you got everything set.
That's my default. Is if I got a kid that I know is gonna every other class, I'm gonna like do your best, forget the rest, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Do one more.
Yeah, man. Let's do one more. If you got time.
Yeah, I got time.
Got time.
Yeah.
How long is each class that you give, and how is the structure of your class?
All right. So, Ben and I have the same. We both have students 50 minutes for once a week. We structure our classes when we have a warm up at the beginning, whether it's an instant activity or walking and jogging. We do our stretching, practice our push-ups and curl-ups for building that muscular endurance and muscular strength. We get into the bulk of the lesson, whether it's an activity or we're teaching the actual skill, and then we get into an application task, and the students get a chance to either a formative or a summative assessment based on that. And then we do a reflection piece at the end, and students are able to self-assess themselves as they leave the classroom. And so that's usually the structure for one class, and we usually structure our units in 3 to 4 weeks based on the activities that we're doing in that unit. And then we have a blog post where we try to explain to you how we scope and sequence everything together, and we'll definitely link that up on there. But we do take that basic lesson in one class, combine it with the unit on there, and then we structure our year with those units based on what students have available in their community or something that they basically can do on their own to stay active at home. So that's just a little bit of an overview of what we try to do each week based on what we have going on.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking for like a big picture, Marcus said 3 to 4 week unit. So like week 1 of a 3 to 4 week unit is usually skill building, and then 3 to 4 for most of the units. Kind of depends on the unit you're teaching, but like the goal for 3rd through 5th is usually to get them into a modified game.
Yeah.
K through 2nd, you might continue with skill building for 2 weeks and do some station work with them, and then get them into some really simple modified games, maybe depending on the class, depending on the time of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the same format I use. One thing I try to remember for my closures is to remember to do a review. So review the content you taught that day, preview of what's coming next week, and a thank you. And I always try to just end the class. The last thing I want my kids to hear me saying is thank you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for putting in the work. Thank you for making mistakes and getting back up and not giving up.
Yeah.
And if there's, a class that didn't do that, there's a few kids that did. So I'm talking to those kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm thanking the kids that need to get thanked.
Correct.
And hoping that through showing gratitude to them, that the rest of them will start to buy in and realize like, oh, Coach Landers really cares if we like give effort and we try our best.
Yeah.
So that's what I want my kids to always leave with, is that thank you. But I always try to get a review and a preview as well. And then we do our self-assessment out the door.
Correct.
So
yeah, and then I've tried to incorporate that as well in our classes as well. But I've also tried to incorporate what we talked about last time we were presenting, is like not trying to speed through everything.
Yeah, man. It's
just like slowing down and having a conversation. Even when I'm talking to students, I'm going to slow down, like, hey, like this is exactly what I need you to do. And I just want to say thank you for doing what you're supposed to do in class. And then that when you slow down, then you can have a conversation about why we're doing what we're doing in class and how we're relating this to your whole curriculum, as a student. We want you to be physically active for a lifetime. So this is why we're doing this activity, so you can practice doing this. And then this is what we're going to do next week. And again, thank you for doing that, because now we have time to do the activity next week because you listened and followed direction this week. So just trying to slow down, to give yourself a chance to communicate what you want to communicate to your students and not trying to rush through things. And that it just comes with experience. It comes with time. And, and trying to figure out different ways to communicate with students, but just trying to slow down to make sure that students understand why you're doing what you're supposed to do in class has been a really big help for us this year.
Yeah, man, slowing down is hard, but you get so much more deeper with the kids if you can slow down. And like, I think it's hard to even measure, but it leaves them with a feeling of not being rushed
Yes.
and being able to like rest with the ideas they're learning.
Yes.
Because like for us, we teach the same thing all week long.
All week long.
And it's like, it comes so fast to us. But like
Yeah.
for a kid, like I was playing an invasion game today. I said at least 6 or 7 times to all of my classes,
Yeah.
I would stop the class and be like, are we in open space right now? You know, like it's just
Yeah.
that simple concept of open space, but like the kids don't understand it.
Yeah.
And you gotta slow down to be able to get those concepts and like talk
For
about
sure.
it and let the kids like notice what's going on
Yeah.
in the class that you're trying to teach them.
Yeah.
So I think it's like quality over quantity, you know?
Correct.
Like it's better to get 3 tasks if you're really doing a great job of covering them than to get like 6 tasks in.
Yeah.
Feel like you finished everything you had
Yeah.
planned.
If you're rushing through it and all that, it's just, if you feel like you're rushing through it, they're gonna feel like they're rushing
Yeah.
through it too. So
Big time.
slow down and enjoy the ride, man. Slow down and enjoy the ride. So.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Anything else you want to add on?
Nah, man, it's good to be back, man. I'm trying to figure out ways to do it because this is always a good dialogue to come in fellowship with you, man. So
100%, man.
yeah, for sure.
Thank you guys for watching / listening.
Thank you, thank you.
And we will try to do this more often. Hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah,
And thanks for being here, bro.
appreciate you, man.
Thank you guys for listening. Hope you have an awesome day. As always, have fun and teach on. Catch you later.
See ya.
Thanks for watching, guys. That's it for this episode of the Phys Ed Q&A show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe, and don't forget to share with somebody that you think might benefit from the conversation. Just a reminder that we'll have all the show notes linked below in the video description, and if you would rather listen to the audio version, we do have a podcast, which is in iTunes. You can search that on your favorite podcast player app, and be sure to subscribe. Hope you guys have an awesome day. As always, have fun and teach on, and we'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching the video. I wanted to let you know this video is sponsored by the PE Specialist Membership Community, where our teachers have access to great tools like unit plan samples, station signs, trainings, tutorials, and even community forums. If you think the membership might be a good fit for you, you can head over to the peteacherspecialist.com/info for some more information. Hope you guys have an awesome day.